Each week, you have a chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees during Review-A Raw. All you have to do is pay attention for the secret question and then submit your answer at Law Radio on Twitter, and you'll be entered into a draw to win your t-shirt, including our own brand of shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/law.
It's Review-A Raw for Monday night. Download a Tuesday morning from the Fight Network site. It's Review-A Raw for Monday night on USA Now on the John and Wai Take the Mic.
Hello and welcome. It is John Pollock and Wai Ting with you. How are you, Wai?
Good. How are you?
Barely living.
Oh, man. John is sick, everybody.
I'm very sick, but it's been a good run since we've been complaining about our illnesses, but it's back with a vengeance.
Yeah, he's very sick, yet he has decided to stick it out and come into this studio to do this review.
Yeah, I have.
This very important show. You just watch this show and you're like, wow, this show was so good. It would be a real disservice to the wrestling community for me not to come in and review this show.
We really messed up weeks of where we did. Last week we just did the podcast version, and this week we're doing the video. We really should have flipped this.
Yeah, we really should.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, you know what? I could be really selfish, or I could go sit in a small room with my good friend who's about to go travel and make sure he gets sick.
I left my mask.
Yeah,
I left my mask at home.
You could put on a wrestling mask.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I hope you don't get sick.
I'll be fine.
Okay.
I'll be fine.
Are you excited about your Las Vegas trip?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to Las Vegas to help cover UFC 209 for the Fight Network, of course.
Very good card on Saturday.
Yeah, I am. I'm very excited.
All right. The MMA talk is over.
Yeah.
Let's get into Raw from Monday night in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Show started off with Bill Goldberg backstage walking out, and he comes out, thanks Green Bay, and they were chanting for him. And he said that Kevin Owens did what he does best last week, talking, which Kevin Owens does very well and did very well last week.
You could argue that it's what he does do best. He does a number of things very well, though.
Goldberg then said, I'm not going to do that, as he then proceeded to continue talking.
Should have signed, maybe.
Yes. Later he'd make a promise that he says he never falls short on his promises, but this one, blatant lie.
Right.
So as he continued talking, he says, I've never made a promise I didn't follow through with. And he promises this Sunday, spear, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3, Goldberg becomes champion.
So does that mean that he's promising essentially a quick match that only consists of a spear, jackhammer, and a 1, 2, 3?
He never put a time limit on himself.
But that's what you would take from him saying this, right?
He did give a very short sentence with 3 sequences that would result in him becoming champion. So you would infer that he meant he was going to do this in very quick fashion.
Which, I think is part of the debate is whether or not this match will last very long at all, or if it will just be another Goldberg squash. This seems to hint that it might be.
Is Fastlane going to be Bill Goldberg in the Express or the Collectors?
Is there even a faster lane than the Express? Because that's what I think Bill Goldberg would take.
Yes, maybe. It would have been great if he was facing Strowman. We could say he'd be on the Auto Braun. We'll save that when Raw goes to Germany. Fantastic.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll write that down.
So he says he's then going to take the title and go face Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania and says, see you on Sunday. When Kevin Owens comes out, and he announced that he was in a good mule, and then corrected himself saying good mood. He goes through his accolades, beating John Cena on his very first night, and all the different guys he's beaten. And when he comes to Chris Jericho, says that Jericho doesn't even matter. He says no matter how loud the sheep chant his name, he says, Goldberg, you're next. And it's not some witty catchphrase. He says, you are next in the evolution of Kevin Owens as the Universal Champion. And Goldberg is applauding him. He applauds his speech and challenges him now to fight. But Owens says he does not speak Neanderthal well and suggests that the two of them have a Green Bay street fight before stating that Green Bay doesn't deserve it. They'll fight on Sunday. And that was it. That was our involvement of our main event for Sunday. This was it.
I think that was it was something you could have said for every segment of this episode of Raw. that was it. I mean, for a go-home edition of Fastlane, we will continue to talk about this show, but
This was a WrestleMania 25 level of go-home show.
there's very little going on in this show, and we will get into detail about exactly how little there was. But starting with this segment where, they tease a Goldberg appearance, and you got that, and that's all you really got. You got really no substance to this. I think the most substance you did get was, what I read as a Bill Goldberg promise of there being a really quick match.
I have a theory about this show.
Okay.
I feel, this is me guessing, okay? This is my theory, is that Vince McMahon said, all right, February 27th, that's a big Raw. I want Goldberg on the show. Big match at Mania. I want Brock on this show.
Was he there?
He did a dark match afterwards. I'll get to that.
My. Okay.
I want Seth Rollins back. It's time to build up Mania. Book the airlines. Get all the tickets ready. I want them on the February 27th Raw. And last week, after Raw, someone told Vince, you know that next week it's before Fastlane. No. That's the night after Fastlane. I want all this stuff. Because everything tonight, to me, these people, Rollins didn't need to be on this show. No. Lesnar didn't need to be on the show and wasn't.
Hunter didn't
need to be on the show. It's like that Rollins segment, to me, should have been saved for next week. There was no purpose for it on this show. That is your final Raw before Fastlane. And Goldberg and Owens here was like, okay, we've got them here. Let's put them in something. This was highly ineffective to me. This didn't hold a candle to Owens' performance last week, and Goldberg did nothing.
Goldberg did need to be here. He's wrestling in the main event on Sunday, so he did need to be here. But the disappointment is kind of the lack of activity you really kind of saw between the two.
They had no idea.
I can't really say, the segment itself did anything to heighten my interest in the match. What I do find interesting is that Kevin Owens, throughout this entire feud with Bill Goldberg, has spoken with great confidence. He's not somebody who, in his conversations with Bill or in his promos with Bill, has really shown any type of a cowardice or fear. In fact, he speaks like somebody who's on the level of Goldberg, despite not necessarily being that same type of monster at a Bill Goldberg level in ring. At least he's not booked to look like that. So it suggests to me that he perhaps is speaking like a character who has a good backup plan. Although that was never really hinted at. All the Triple H stuff.
Yeah, no connection there.
Yeah, so we could assume that, maybe they're just hiding it, but there should be some type of connection, whether it be Samoa Joe helping him out or something like that, right?
At least Jericho wasn't on this show.
Yeah.
That would have just sealed my theory that they were just thinking this Raw was the first big Raw towards WrestleMania.
Do you have a prediction for some of the whatever involvement Jericho or Brock will have on Fastlane?
I don't think any Brock, and I feel Jericho. I don't really want to see them involved in that. I would hold it off till at least next Monday.
I feel like if Goldberg is going to beat Owens for the title, I think the best use of that would be to have Jericho be involved, to be the one to cause Owens the title.
The only way I would like to see him involved would be if say Joe was getting sent to the ring and Jericho thwarted him and Owens' plan gets foiled. Without Jericho actually being involved with any physicality with Owens, it's just his backup is gone.
I think that's fine.
The New Day come out and they state that the people want more than just bootios. They want ice cream. And now they show off their new shirts that read New Day Pops.
It's a pretty good name for ice cream, I'd say.
Big E says that first they have to take the shine off the shining stars while quickly saying, I didn't write that. The shining stars come out, and then an envelope is handed to the New Day, and they apologize. They name the wrong opponents because instead the shining stars are facing the Big Show, and then they reveal what is in the envelope, and their opponents are Rusev and Jinder Mahal. Fucking silence.
Yeah, I was surprised nobody claimed that they didn't write this either, because this was...
Like, you knew this joke was coming, and God, was it awful.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess they could have, somehow saved it by joking about what a bad job they did. Instead, I think it just came across even more awkward than the actual Oscars did, because this received no reaction at all.
That was fun. That was at least enjoyable. It was chaos.
That was awesome.
This
was
wow,
not that.
this sucked. Big E and Xavier Woods took on Rusev and Jinder Mahal, with Rusev's nose all healed up now, no face mask. Woods hit the honor roll to Mahal, and then Big E hit a splash onto the edge of the apron as they go to the break. We return from break, and another miraculous recovery by the heels during the break, as they are now in control. Woods hit an Enziguri, made the hot tag, and Big E hit 3 belly-to-belly suplexes onto Jinder. Rusev made the save after a high cross from Woods, and then Rusev head kicks Big E to the floor. Lana and Kofi start arguing, and Rusev gets involved with them on the floor. Woods uses an O'Connor roll to pin Mahal, and then Rusev and Mahal are arguing after the match.
Yeah.
They may have to resurrect the Raw pre-show for a proper platform for that feud to culminate in.
Yeah, or they could always do it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Digital.
Have a Twitter war between those two. I don't care about this at all.
This tag team has hardly established themselves, so maybe, something on .com is appropriate. I'm disappointed they didn't keep the Russian hacker gag going.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
real missed opportunity.
I'm also disappointed that they didn't keep really the ice cream gag going. I mean, for me, what's been interesting about the New Day over the past several weeks has been seeing how they were going to integrate this stupid idea of these ice cream planes into their matches to actually make the matches interesting. And it's worked over the past several weeks. This today, as was the theme with the rest of the show, it just seemed a little lazy and just felt like there was no creative ideas for any of these segments.
Enzo and Cass are backstage, and Enzo is continuing to do this. He's just this pest, this annoying pest to Cass.
He's really excited about winning the titles, and he seems overconfident in almost a heelish way.
Cass reminds them they've never won the titles, while Anderson and Gallows have won titles all over the world, but that changes Sunday, and Cass just walked off, sick of Enzo, just won't shut up.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's almost a little too obvious how thick they're playing it up, that Enzo is this overconfident guy. How obvious it would be that these two are going to lose the titles, and that's what I would assume. For them to win the titles right now is, I mean, I can't say Gallows and Anderson are really doing all that much either, so I can't say it's really a downgrade. But I don't know. It's kind of tough to get into.
Then we go to Cesaro and Sheamus. They are speaking backstage, and Sheamus is upset that they are not fighting for the tag titles, and Cesaro says, "Time will tell, crap will smell, but water will always find its balance." And they are the water. And Samoa Joe walks in and says Cesaro is still trying to figure it all out, and says he was wearing the brass ring around his neck the second he showed up. As Cesaro says, very clever, using a brass ring reference in front of me, and says that Joe has been carrying Hunter's jockstrap, and Cesaro then tells Sheamus he will handle this with Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm. Joe's been able to. We got to see Joe speak more than ever in his WWE run thus far on this episode, and he sounds really confident. His delivery is very smooth, and I'm actually quite impressed. Cesaro, for as much as we love him in ring, even up against Joe here, he definitely seems weaker in that department, and he still comes across like a guy who really has to try in these segments.
Yes. Water will always find its balance.
The lines don't help, trust me.
Who gave...
I don't know.
Where did this come from? Have you ever heard this saying before?
No.
Crap will always smell. Stephanie is with Mick Foley, and Stephanie goes over Mick Foley's career, points out his damage he's done to his ear, and he says the fearless Foley is the one she did not get as the general manager, and mentions how Triple H ended Mick Foley's career 17 years ago on this date, which really did not end his career. That was maybe his first retirement, but nonetheless.
Which one was that? The Hell in a Cell?
That was the Hell in a Cell in Hartford.
Ended it for about a month.
A good month. Yeah, he was on the next pay-per-view in the main event. And he mentions that Hunter gets stronger every year while Mick Foley gets weaker, and says he has fallen from grace into the abyss of despair and misery and doesn't measure up to her or Foley's expectations. Foley is getting more feeble and pathetic every day, and she apologizes that she put Foley in this position and just walks off, having just rendered this man useless, taking every ounce of his ego and shitting on it. This was a dress down by Stephanie McMahon.
Yeah.
Like a well stated one. I mean, this was an eloquent diss track.
And I could understand it if the intent was to fire Mick up, which I guess it was for that final segment that we'll get to later on. But I feel like Mick hardly redeemed himself by the end of the night. You know what? He had like 2 lines. He was really fired up for like 2 lines, and then he got shut down by Braun again. Not enough to warrant this, in my opinion. You know? And of course, Steph had nothing to do with like Steph never got her comeuppance afterwards. You know what I mean? It was just like, Steph, get up there, embarrass Mick, destroy him, and then exit. And
maybe he'll get fired and then use Socko on Stephanie.
Is that really revenge? I guess. Sure.
What else can you do?
Yeah. I mean, it was... I know they're building to something with Steph and Mick and possibly Hunter, so we'll wait and see.
Brian Kendrick does a tape promo stating that Akira Tozawa needed to be taught lessons, so we had a backstage tape PowerPoint presentation as Brian Kendrick channeled Randy Orton from 2009 by having visual aids for his promo with video examples of his lessons. Yes, attacking Tozawa on Raw, and then the hardest lesson of them all, tying a man's foot underneath the ring and losing by count out. Whew. Poor Tozawa. We cut back, and Tozawa isn't even in... Oh, he is in this next match here against Noam Dar, and they announced it'll be Swan and Tozawa against Noam Dar and Brian Kendrick for the Fastlane kickoff show. Nothing against these four, but you could not urge me more to just start this show at 8 o'clock than this announcement of the Fastlane kickoff match.
And again, really is nothing against these four.
Yeah, I have negative interest in this tag match.
The characters aren't over. The matches really have not been anything of a substantial quality, save for that great main event between 4 of these guys 2 weeks ago on 205 Live.
Oh, that number 1 contender.
But they're not going to have a match like that on the kickoff. They won't be allowed to have a match like that on the kickoff. So, it's just them getting their faces out there, I guess.
So Tozawa took on Noam Dar. There's a big kick to the chest and sent on by Tozawa. Tozawa got distracted by Alicia Fox on the turnbuckle, and Dar capitalized, dropping him. Tozawa then came back, sent him to the floor, suicide dive, and then back into the ring, catches Dar with a snap-bridging German for the win in 3 minutes. And then Brian Kendrick jumped Tozawa from behind and says even if he wins, he needs to have eyes in the back of his head.
Yeah, Tozawa had a really rough landing being knocked off of the second turnbuckle, where he just landed straight on his face and his forehead, and he seemed to be holding his forehead for the rest of the match, so it looked a little rough, but I would say, I mean...
Maybe that was his lesson for the match that he learned.
Maybe. Lesson number 4.
Yeah, you have to have eyes in the front of your head, too.
Anyway, I'd say, like, partially... The crowds are already pretty bad for 205 cruiserweight matches, but I'm sorry, Green Bay, you really were not there tonight, and certainly...
I have my rant later for this Green Bay crowd. I'm not a fan either.
This cruiserweight match, I mean...
This one I'm not going to get so mad on. They've been given no reason to care.
Yeah.
I would have the same reaction discussing this tag match for Sunday. If I was a fan there in the arena this Sunday for that tag match, my hands would be right underneath me, and I would be sitting on them.
Yeah.
Because I have no reason to see this tag match. It has no implications. It is a match to have 8 minutes of in-ring time filled. That's it.
Yep, that is it. And if the matches were really good, and if you're promised a really great match, I don't think I'd really have a problem with it. But the matches haven't even been all that great. And, in the case of this, I think Tozawa's been doing well, but that's all based on his in-ring ability. And the screaming thing is getting over okay. Did tonight, but I don't think really anything was getting that over tonight. But the Kendrick feud, I mean, there's really just no substance behind it. Kendrick appears for a few weeks wanting to mentor Tozawa. Tozawa says no. Okay, well, now he's really mad. that's not really enough, you know? There's not really a whole lot there for me as a fan to really want to see, wow, I want to see this guy really beat up this guy because he wanted him to mentor him.
Remember when Kendrick was hit with the mist? Maybe he's confusing the effects of the mist. He's confused his anger from one Japanese guy to the other.
He's mistaken the
He's
two
mistaken
Japanese guys.
of Tajiri because he was feuding with this guy, and then he just shifted to Tozawa, and at least we had the mist to explain his confusion.
Maybe Tajiri is waiting in the locker room this whole time, where Grand Metalik is probably too.
Maybe we need a backstory on the mist, what it does. You could bring back Nydia to discuss the harrowing effects of the black mist.
Yes. Right.
So that was that. Foley is backstage, and Samoa Joe walks up and asks if Foley is not having a nice day, and he says, I haven't been having a nice 7 months as general manager. And he calls Samoa Joe Triple H's puppet. Joe says, I'm no one's puppet. And Foley says, well, you do whatever Hunter says and go wherever he tells you to. That's the definition of a puppet. And says, as long as he's GM, Joe still has to obey him, and makes a match between Joe and Cesaro for later tonight.
Yeah. Not everything, I just have no comment for.
Yeah, well, that was
Everything.
lot of tonight. They promoted Charlotte's 16-0 record in women's title matches on pay-per-view. Cole really qualified this by stating that's her record when the women's title is at stake in a pay-per-view match that Charlotte is involved
So
with.
she's lost non-title matches?
She definitely lost that tag match the one time they brought up Bayley
Right.
at a pay-per-view
I'm sure
last July.
She probably lost something with that page, PCB. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Is
What was
that
their
what that's
original,
called?
the porn name they had? The
Sorority-
Submission Sisters?
Submission sorority.
Yeah, that didn't last.
I wonder if they'll cover that in the
In the movie?
documentary.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Charlotte comes out with Dana Brooke and cuts a promo. She says she thought that Bayley would do the right thing last week, calls her greedy and wins at all cost. Says Bayley's been playing all of the people, and she should have won an Academy Award last night. The Raw after the Academy Awards is quickly becoming my most hated Raw of the year. But at least they kept it to two references tonight that I'm aware of.
Could have been worse. You haven't seen SmackDown yet, so.
That's right. They might have a lot planned. She says that Bayley is going to be a one-hit wonder, like Vanilla Ice, the Baja Men, the cast of Twilight, Brett Favre, Buster Douglas, and your QB.
Who is
We
that?
should have Sarge here, isn't it? Is Aaron Rodgers the quarterback on Green Bay?
I don't know.
He is?
Yes.
No, wow. That was
Thanks,
that was a
Sam.
shot in the dark. Anyway, I don't think
but-
Charlotte remembered the name either.
She obviously didn't remember either.
Okay, so there, we're one ahead of her.
Why did she name?
I thought this was an instant fucking Ronda Rousey easy reference to make.
I guess, but I mean, I thought Brett Favre. You should have ended on Brett Favre. They're in Green Bay.
That got the most heat.
Yeah. Why?
She didn't remember Aaron Rodgers' name, so that got no heat.
Yeah, I guess. But why even say Buster Douglas in the middle of that?
Yeah.
What? Like, is that even a reference that these people would get?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Jesus, Vanilla Ice. That's what, 91 we're talking about here? And then gets cut off by Bayley's music. And Bayley says that this one-hit wonder beat her 3 times and says, once you achieve a dream, you move on to your next dream, as she points to the WrestleMania sign. And her new dream is walking in as champion to WrestleMania. Sasha then comes out and says Bayley is more deserving of the title than Charlotte. And Charlotte can't believe that Sasha is not out of breath. And waits and says, because she's always taking Bayley's spotlight. It's exhausting. What? And then Sasha
What?
comes back.
No, I mean, she should have said, like, shouldn't she have said that she can't believe Sasha is not blinded?
Yeah, you could have made a vision thing or said, man, Bayley's looking extra pale because you've taken her spotlight away from her.
It makes more sense than.
Then you're out of
Being out of
breath
breath.
because it's exhausting taking away Bayley's spotlight. So then Sasha says, you know what I'm tired of? Your stupid face. This is when I really thought I was going to just text away and say, I'm too sick to do this podcast tonight. I did not want to go on. This was one of Charlotte's poorer performances.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
good confidence about her regardless,
Great
but the actual content sucked here.
And I mean, she probably had issues with the memory too, you know, with some of the, but like, look at what she had to remember. Sasha calling Charlotte a stupid face.
And called her that again during the match.
Called her a stupid face. Okay, you could tell like it's one of those things where like she said it, and then she didn't know how this crowd would react. Cause like I don't know if it was I don't know if it was scripted for her or what. I can't say the crowd didn't react. The crowd started chanting it, but it was almost one of those like, wow, did we actually hear this grown woman call another?
I felt it was an
woman?
ironic chant.
Yeah, it kind of was, but like that's how shit gets over these days. You know, through irony. And there was a stupid face chant, which might stick.
We'll find out. Maybe everyone's got to have more honesty about what they wrote and what was not written for them.
Yeah.
More biggie honesty. So Charlotte then introduces her actual partner, because it's definitely not Dana. She brings out Nia Jax, and we got a tag match between these two. Jax took down both Bayley and Banks, showed a lot of power. Charlotte came in, took a tilt-a-whirl from Sasha, and then Bayley sent Charlotte to the floor. This was after Dana went to trip Bayley, but messed that up. And Bayley had to just turn around and acknowledge Dana on the floor and her screwed up trip attempt, and then just went to the floor herself and gave Dana belly to Bayley on the floor. We came back from break. You'll never guess this. We left with both heels down, on the floor, beaten. Miraculous recovery. What happens during these commercial breaks, Way? It's like Tinkerbell, where the crowd they cheer and it brings up their life meter.
Maybe the heels just like get really shy in front of a camera and they don't do as well. So when they're in commercial, they're just like, oh, the pressure's off.
Yeah, they just need to get their wits about them. They can't handle that extra live pressure. Banks crawls out of the corner, tags in Bayley. She fires up on Charlotte, snapped her neck on the apron, and then Bayley gets thrown off of Nia's back, nails Charlotte off the apron, and gets hit with an avalanche by Nia. Nia then catches Sasha and slams her onto Bayley and hits a leg drop, and Nia Jax pins Bayley clean.
No, that surprises you?
Somewhat.
Didn't she lose last week?
Who?
Bayley.
Bayley didn't have a match last week. It was just Sasha beating Charlotte.
Charlotte got pinned. You're right.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've had Charlotte and Bayley, our title contestants, losing going into their matches.
Again, this seems like a match that more is building towards WrestleMania. And
That's what I kind of looked at this as.
Completely ignoring really what's about to happen at Fastlane. And it was just more of a match I felt that was trying to inject Nia into the mix and really pushing her. But yeah, like the match on Sunday really is an afterthought, isn't it?
Well, I think they're pushing it that the streak could end. That's really the only...
Did you really feel that from watching this match, though?
No, I did not.
Why not have Bayley beat Charlotte then? Wouldn't that have been the...
Well, that would be the reverse psychology, that if Charlotte loses here, then she's definitely got to be winning. It should have been Charlotte beating Bayley here. This is how you got to think, Way. You got to think backwards. Illogic instead of logically.
So dumb.
Foley was in his office with Braun and announces he cannot give him any competition tonight. Be like, didn't you advertise Brock? He's listed on the website for tonight. He says he doesn't want any. He wants a contract because he believes that Roman Reigns will break and back out of the match unless there's a contract for the match. Foley disagrees with this assessment of Reigns, but says you will get your contract signing. This may have been a first. This was a guy wanting to cover his ass and justify a contract signing. There was a reason for it. So we're led to believe most matches don't have contracts. It's like
You don't think the Cruiserweights had a contract signing for
it's an
their
unspoken rule that if we verbally agree, we will end up going to have our match.
Yeah.
But as we have learned, verbal agreements don't always lead to written contracts being signed.
Yeah, I feel like in 2016, shouldn't we be doing away with contracts? Aren't there e-signatures or something? Isn't there something more modern they could do?
Just so you don't have to do it in person?
Or just something that is not as kind of seems as archaic as paper. You know what I mean? So all the special DMing, the special
Like when you sign for a package, you just sign your thing on a little machine. But
how about a special thumbprint scan?
A retina scanning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The special retina scanning.
But is that holding you against it? Like that will profile your identity, but you're not necessarily verbally or
honestly,
you have to agree to the points. So you got to sign something. It might as well be paper.
No. In the future, it should all be thumbprints. Like we should be doing away with signatures because that could be forged.
You know, it'd be awesome
if somebody forged the Braun Strowman signature.
You know how great it would be if that warehouse they have has stored every signed contract from every contract signing angle. Imagine there was just a stack of contracts.
Wow.
And we could compare signatures.
What an exhibit that would be.
That should be at the Hall of Fame.
Wall of contracts.
Yes. So anyway, we have our contract signing at the request of Braun Strowman. Enzo and Caston come out for a singles match. There was no Enzo promo. It was just quick little usual intro, and then Cass says they'll become tag champs on Sunday.
Does it suggest something with Enzo? Do you think a heel turn is in the works?
I get certainly that feeling. Like they're trying to make him this annoying pest. They're taking away his promo time and cutting that away. It feels like this concerted effort to get the audience to dislike Enzo.
I understand the idea to want to separate the two in order to push Cass as kind of a big, a baby face, but you have something so special with Enzo that obviously the audience really likes. Why sacrifice that for this?
Like, take away Enzo and his rhymes. I mean, what do you have there?
You have a cruiserweight who can't wrestle.
You don't need wrestling. That is not his forte. Yeah. That is not why he is here. He is a great speaker, one of the best this company has had in years.
And it's so rare to have. And here, for the sake of this big Cass babyface push they're trying to do, they're going to kill that. They're going to, take one of the great talkers that they have, and they're going to mute him.
They tried this when they turned Road Dogg heel years ago after the first success with the New Age Outlaws. And it was, this guy's super entertaining at this stuff. Just have him do it in a heel way. And the crowd, they just loved hearing this guy do that opening spiel every single time, and they got into it. And it's like, this guy just shouldn't be a heel. Yeah. Unless you want to ditch all of that, which I don't know how much you have left with Enzo. I don't know if this guy can do
heel promo?
A heel promo that the crowd isn't going to get into. Like, he's too clever. He's too witty. Yeah. He's a great promo. I don't know why you would want to turn this guy, but we will see. Luke Gallows took on Big Cass, not a very lengthy match. Anderson distracted Cass, and Anderson hit a pair of big kicks to drop Cass in the corner, and then landed a clothesline on Cass for a 2 count. Cass went for a choke slam. It was blocked, and then landed a running clothesline, a fallaway slam, and then a splash in the corner, sidewalk slam, Empire elbow, and then Anderson goes after Enzo, and Enzo reverses and sends Anderson into the steps, which just did not look like a realistic exchange. That this little guy could just forcefully reverse Anderson and toss him into these steps.
It's momentum, man.
I guess so. Footwork. Balance.
Yes.
He pivoted. And then there was a running boot to Gallows, and Gallows flipped over from the running boot, and Cass just pinned him in 241.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Babyface's win, heading into the challenger's win, heading into the pay-per-view.
Excitement level.
Yeah.
We went to a Facebook video. Titus and Sheamus in catering. And I guess this happened sometime. They went to catering over the last 30 minutes since this match with Joe and Cesaro was made. They said earlier tonight in the graphic.
Yeah.
So this happened in a very short period of time. They both got hungry.
Wait, the match was made in that Cesaro segment? No, the match was
just made when Mick was backstage with Joe, a couple segments ago. Right. And then we go to this segment where they're talking about this, and Titus is telling Sheamus that Joe's going to kill Cesaro. So in these 20 minutes or so, they went to catering. They had this brawl. A match was made between these two, and then we cut to the present where they're in the ring.
Dude,
this was the most eventful 20 minutes in Raw history.
In that time, I mean, these are long shows. You can get hungry. You'd want to go to catering to eat after, talking to Cesaro. I mean, I get hungry. When I'm hungry, I want cameras on me for Facebook. Maybe I want to Facebook my eating. and then I'll have a match booked.
Titus
There.
is going with the belief that Cesaro will get killed by Joe, so he's proposing that Sheamus and Titus become a tag team, which is just sounds like the scariest idea ever.
Based on the fact that Titus O'Neil also has an Irish name, so they can make America green again. Is what he said.
Yes, and they could be the Irish connection. Sheamus shoves Titus over a table, and he comes up with chocolate all over his face.
I think this food was more valuable than whatever this segment was worth. So they wasted a lot of food here.
Titus took on Sheamus, and Titus immediately attacked him in the ring, tossed Sheamus into the barricade, and then Sheamus insists on the match continuing and starting because it's only Titus O'Neil here. He can overcome this, and just immediately landed a brogue kick and pinned Titus in 19 seconds.
I guess they filled some time with this.
Yes.
Do you expect this feud to continue?
I hope so.
I would love to see a compilation of Titus O'Neil's past 2 years, on some type of joke DVD collection, perhaps. Just the
You
series.
can call it Make Titus Green Again.
I think he's been doing that himself. Just like this run he's had has been awful.
This
Who's been given as much TV time as he has and has had dud after dud after dud? Maybe Bo Dallas. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
He's consistent. Corey is in the ring and throws to this video feature on the, quote, recent events that have led to this interview. And we got a history of Triple H and Seth Rollins going through NXT, the breakup of The Shield, shots of Seth watching last year's WrestleMania from a press box, Hunter calling him a failure, helping Kevin Owens win the title and turning on Seth, the distraction finish that took Seth out of the Royal Rumble via music, and then the attack by Samoa Joe. And then Graves introduces Seth Rollins, who comes out hobbling on one crutch with his knee brace on. And we have 2 chairs and a rug for this segment. So I wonder if this was the Cruiserweight crew that also had to decorate the Corey Graves interview environment.
of course it was.
I guess so.
They should just keep it up for the cruiserweights. Here's a rug.
They should have to go on a rug, too.
Yeah.
Then we could have the literal analogy when we say that the rug was pulled out from underneath them. Rollins says that his MCL tear was a bit worse than first diagnosed. He hopes to be back soon. It's intense rehab, and says, it is what it is. It's medicine, not magic. So it is what it is. Rollins says, he looks down and he just says, it sucks. He felt the same snap in his knee, and maybe he deserves this. He calls WrestleMania 31 his greatest moment of his life, and says, he goes on to just look down, and he's all beaten down, and then the CM Punk chants began.
Like, why? What was even the reasoning for Punk chants?
Listen, this definitely annoyed me because I thought that Rollins was having a very good promo here, and to his credit, kept going here. Part of this was a big part of last week. I mean, that was a very big focus, was the Punk stuff with The Rock.
Yeah, but at least that made sense because it was an AJ Lee staged match that was occurring.
But I think it kind of reinvigorated these chants.
Sure.
But this hardly felt like an opening
Exactly.
to just start chanting
yeah,
for it.
what was the opening here?
I mean, maybe they were just bored here during this promo. I don't know. I wasn't. I thought, for all the criticism I've had of the Seth delivery, this was a different voice for Seth, which I feel was better here.
Yeah, it was.
It's just this had an awful crowd that gave him no chance here.
This was a case where, like, I heard the CM Punk chant start, and then I could almost, maybe it was just wishful thinking, but like I could also hear a sea of groans coming from the audience too.
Yeah,
like, oh,
I'm sure that
you idiots, you stop, please don't embarrass us. Stop chanting this. Maybe it was wishful thinking.
So, I mean, he kept going here, and he said maybe he lost sight along the way, and says how he may partly be at fault here for this injury. And Corey asks him about missing WrestleMania. Rollins says it's not looking great, and he doesn't think he'll be cleared in time as the crowd boos. And then Triple H music plays. He comes out smiling. Joe appears at ringside.
When was Hunter's last appearance, by the way? Had he appeared since Joe's debut?
He debuted that night. Hunter was on that night.
Yeah, that was it, right?
Yeah, he was there with Joe. So, yeah, this would be his first appearance since then. And Hunter cuts this promo stating that Rollins won't be at WrestleMania no matter what anyone tells you. He made Rollins the man and the face of the WWE, gave him the title, and Rollins bit the hand that fed him. He used Rollins and spit him out and tells Seth to just get over it. Rollins is the past, and he is worthless now, and tells Seth not to come to WrestleMania or call him out because he swears to Rollins it will be the last thing he does in a WWE ring if he shows up. And Rollins says he has nothing left to lose, and he will be at WrestleMania, and it will be the last thing Hunter ever does. As Hunter and Joe then depart.
Yeah. I thought a good segment overall. Certainly the best segment of the show, honestly. I can't really think of anything that much better. I thought Hunter cut a very good promo. He cut a promo that I feel like any shrewd businessman would love to cut on a complaining, bitter former employee.
Oh, wow.
Of course I used you, and you benefited because I paid you.
Maybe he pictured CM Punk in the ring.
Oh, okay. That would have warranted a chance, maybe. But yeah, a good segment overall. I credit Hunter for waking me up from a pretty dull edition of Raw up until this point.
Oh, I was out by this point. Yeah. No, that was the next segment because the Shining Stars were out to take on the Big Show. I don't make a habit of listening to Shaquille O'Neal's podcast, but he addressed WrestleMania today, so I downloaded the whatever his podcast is called, the Shaq Cast, maybe.
No,
that's definitely not what it is.
Big Man or a Big Shaq.
Definitely don't
podcast.
care. So don't anyone correct me. And stated that, yeah, it's probably true that the Big Show match is not happening. He didn't outright say it's not happening, said there's still a chance, but he used the Gene Snitsky defense and said it's not my fault that this isn't happening. But said he's going to be training. He's going to start doing two-a-day. It was weird. He said, like, starting March 1st, I think, he said, I'm going to start doing two-a-days, but then he's going on vacation like a day or two later for like a week. So why don't you just wait till you come back to start your two-a-days?
Yeah, I don't know. So it sounds like the Shaq match isn't happening, or at least it sounds like it might not be happening. And do you think that anybody is really all that disappointed? You know,
Big Show. I'm sure. Look at the shape this guy's in.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, it's hardly been hinted at. Nor do I necessarily feel like the card needs it. Nor do I feel the card will benefit from it. You know, like we talked about last week, unless it was somebody like a Braun Strowman that they were using to build to the future with the celebrity, attachment. I don't necessarily see the need for Big Show versus Shaq. I think that time might have passed for both of these
Well, it would
guys.
also be contingent on a real big angle being shot. Like if they had a great idea, that might generate interest for it. But there's nothing at it now. It's so it's like it's public out there. I mean, Big Show's talking about this on the WWE website. I mean, it's hardly this secret that if it happens now, I just feel it's expected by everyone. It's not something I'm dying to see. That's a hard match to do if you were to do a singles match with them. It's just, yeah, with Big Show, like what is the value beyond one night of doing this? I mean, if it was Braun, I see a purpose to this.
Braun beating the shit out of Shaq. That'd be great. I'd watch that. But I mean, at this point, like, is Shaq even that famous anymore? Yes, he is. Okay, don't get me wrong. I love Shaq. All right. What's his rap song? Like do you know he rapped? Do you know that?
I had his Sega Genesis game, Shaq Fu.
Oh, Shaq Fu, classic. Kazam, classics.
Oh, classic.
Steel,
classic. You know, when I turned 9 years old, me and my friends, I invited my friends, and we went to go watch Blue Chips, the movie starring Shaq and Nick Nolte.
Yeah, classics.
Yeah, that was my 9th
Love
birthday
Shaq.
party.
But 2017, I don't know if I need Shaq in WrestleMania. I don't know that.
What if they got Kobe involved and it was a tag match?
Shaq and
say Big Show and Shaq team up against Braun and Kobe.
I'd love to know why Braun and Kobe Bryant would hang out. That'd be great. I'd love to see that storyline itself. Kobe Bryant hanging out with Braun Strowman. And what, like is Braun gonna be in his warehouse and like?
The only thing I want, you know, what would be great?
door?
Shaq on Talking Smack. Talking Shaq. He would be great. That's all I need to see. How
about just Shaq hosting SmackDown? Shaq down.
Shaq down. I want that guy on Raw just so we can name this episode easily. God, we're running out of names.
let's get on with this review. Big Show and the Shining Stars.
Do I have to run through this? He hit a knockout punch to Epico, and he chokeslammed Primo and won in a minute 52.
I don't know what the point was. I really don't. I mean, Big Show, let's credit him for, a very successful main event last week that drew a pretty good rating.
Yep, that third hour held up much better than most third hours did.
So it shows that there's still certainly value in somebody like the Big Show. And perhaps they just don't have anything that creative for him right now, putting him in a match like this.
And worth noting, tonight, the main event segment again featured Braun Strowman. So I think last week probably gave them confidence in putting this guy on last and teasing that throughout the show.
That was a match, though? This was a contract signing? I'm curious.
No way, didn't you see the
surprised.
title? This was a Braun track signing.
Yes. Very nice.
You just groaned when I sent you that one
No,
tonight, didn't you?
I was at a point where I could really care less. Couldn't care less about that.
They did a feature on Martin Luther King Jr., and then Tony Nese was in the locker room with Neville. Neville says the purpose of tonight's tag match, claiming that there was one, was to put Jack Gallagher in his place before their title match on Sunday, and calls Gallagher a sideshow act and made a sideshow out of their contract signing last week. Can you imagine that, making a sideshow out of a contract signing? And that Gallagher is not worthy of his title. Nese says for him, he's going to do what's best for the premier athlete. And Neville says, don't screw this up.
Yeah.
Nese, I'm sorry, man.
No.
This guy has the personality of a dry sponge that's been left out in the sun.
Oh, okay. Does a moist sponge have more personality
No.
than a dry sponge?
At least it's oozing something.
His scripting doesn't help either. But certainly there are guys like Tony Nese who, I don't know how much time he's spending at the performance center with the promo classes. I hope he's spending a lot of time just talking to himself in front of a mirror, because he needs to unlock that within himself. And that ability to just be able to sound comfortable speaking on camera. You could tell the guy's just really shy, and this feels really unnatural for him.
He should do tongue twisters about his knees. Tony Nese's knees are going to to go through your family tree and attack your niece.
Okay.
Did I ever tell you in third grade I won a contest for a tongue twister contest?
Oh, you.
I totally cheated.
That does not surprise
I
me.
copied a tongue twister out of a book,
You cheated.
and then I got named to represent my class and recite my tongue twister at this talent show in front of my parents and stuff. And I didn't have the heart.
no.
I was so deep. I didn't even think I was cheating at the time.
Do you remember the tongue twister by chance?
It was, I can't remember the entire thing, but it was, I thought a thought, but the thought I thought wasn't the thought I thought. So the thought I thought was the thought I thought. And that's it for 5 lines.
Wow.
And see, they tricked me because they said just produce a tongue twister. So I copied it out of the tongue twister book saying I just needed to produce one.
That's not producing. Okay.
I didn't really realize this was some contest. And then they named me. And then I realized, I was supposed to come up with original work, and I didn't. And I was like, my parents are really proud that I did this thing. I'm like, I'm not going to lie now. So I had to get up in front of the whole school, read this bloody tongue twister. I can't remember what happened after.
And you got away with it.
I think so.
Oh, my
Again,
God.
I was 8 years old at the time, 8 or 9.
man.
Maybe this was right after I saw Blue Chips.
I think that's copyright infringement that people could go after you.
I mean, I didn't make any money off of it.
Well, you are now reading it on this very
Oh, yeah,
lucrative
we're about to
podcast.
retire off of tonight's podcast.
Wow.
Anyway, yep, the wild world of
Do
John
you feel better
Pollock.
now that you came clean finally after 20-something years?
Yeah.
Feel better?
Yeah, I'll come. I haven't told my parents yet.
I forgive you.
Thanks. I'm just trying to avoid this tag match. Not that it was bad. It's just I was done by this point.
They
of the
played
show.
Austin Aries video.
Yeah,
this.
we got an Austin Aries feature, the same one that ran last week, and Aries is on commentary. Perkins went to give a fist bump to Jack Gallagher, who then shook his fist. That was the highlight of this. Further evidence that someone here watched or listened to Review-A last week, because on 205 Live tomorrow night, we are getting the state of the WWE Cruiserweight address by Neville.
I guess that's proof.
Do you think he's
Sure.
going to throw to videos and have a plan all along?
Yeah, I do actually. What else would he do?
He's got to have video evidence of where the state of the cruiserweights are.
Mm-hmm.
What a great segment that could be, like a real state of the cruiserweight address.
How would that be?
You could talk about what's working, what's not working. These
Okay.
bloody ropes we have to deal with. Perkins ran the ropes and he knocked Gallagher off the apron. But then this went nowhere. Like, this didn't play into the finish. This didn't lead to them arguing. There was no tease of tension. It was just like a spot.
Yeah, it's not like they're leading into a match where...
And it didn't seem like an
opposing
accident.
sides.
It seemed like it was done purposefully.
Yeah.
But
I'm
it
not
just
sure.
had no connection to anything in the match. Perkins hit a detonation kick to Nice. Gallagher then used a running drop kick and Russian leg sweep and applied this octopus-like submission hold while seated on the mat for the submission in 1:58, submitting, of course, Tony Nese.
Yeah. And, yeah.
Beth Phoenix Hall of Fame video. They showed highlights of her in a I Quit match, a tables match, an appearance in the Royal Rumble. And I'm guessing it's probably going to be a group of the women inducting her. That's kind of what's been hinted at.
You think it's a group? Why?
Well, Kelly did an interview last week stating that she's going to be at Mania, she's going to be at Access, and she's going to be at the Hall of Fame, and said she's going to be, I think she said she's going to be part of someone's induction with others.
Oh, she
Because-
spoiled it.
Well, I think it's just, like, obviously it would make sense Natalia would be part of that. I just imagine it's going to be a bunch of the women, maybe all from that time period.
I guess so. I personally would have gone with Santino.
To induct her?
Yeah.
I think they're going to want a female to do it.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
so that's that.
Or Edge, I guess.
Eh,
But they never really worked on screen together.
yeah, I mean, you could do that. I feel Natalia would be a better selection here.
Do you feel like she should? I'm not even gonna ask.
What, the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you feel like she should be in the Hall of Fame? But
I have no issue. I mean, with the WWE Hall of Fame,
everybody deserves to be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
are you not going to ask me the Hall of Fame question?
No.
Every single Hall of Fame segment so far, you've added it by saying, who else is scheduled to go in?
This is it, isn't it?
No.
There's one more.
No, I think there's a few more.
There's a few more after
Wait, we
this?
still got a month left.
Oh my God! So who's gonna be in? Who else?
Go back and listen to our shows.
Okay.
Anyway, Bayley and Sasha are backstage, and they're both sore from their match as Sasha says, man, that was rough. And Sasha says she meant what she said out there about Bayley. And Sasha says she's going to be ringside for Bayley's match to have her back. When Stephanie walks in, eavesdropping, and says, are you going to try and steal Bayley's spotlight some more? Do you have the cardio to be stealing her spotlight? I'm going to give you your own spotlight. The word spotlight was said way too much this year. That was last year's Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And books a match for Sunday with Sasha against Nia Jax for Sunday and tells Sasha to stop worrying about Bayley's back and more about her own. Spotlight yourself. So there we have another match for Sunday. Cesaro and Samoa Joe. I like this match. Okay.
No, I did like it. Trust me, I was
It had
counting.
a story to it.
I was counting on this match to save the show for me. And I would say maybe I was only a little disappointed by it. That's all. But sure, it was. Yeah, it was the best match on the show. Yeah.
The match featured Cesaro just landing on the edge of the apron and then fell to the floor, tweaking his knee. And I just thought it was done subtle, and he registered it, and it played into the whole rest of the match. Now, I will say,
it did. But did it?
Cesaro, though, he, in terms of a guy trying to protect an injured body part,
he's an idiot.
the dumbest.
Oh, I hurt my knee. Let me just carry this 400-pound man on my shoulders.
Like every bit of offense was putting pressure on his knee. He's diving off of the second rope.
I know. Like I've heard rumors that like they want guys. I mean, they don't want guys to sell body parts too much if it means not being able to entertain the crowd by doing big impressive spots. But really, come on, you can't. I feel like you can't have it both ways. If you're gonna work a knee injury, he should act like he's really hurt or struggling to get off some of these very impressive feats, or just let the guy do the very impressive feats and maybe like hurt his something that doesn't require that is something you don't need, a body part that you don't need when you're lifting a guy over.
Broke
your
his
shoulder.
toe.
Yeah,
You
that
can-
would
you
still
can
hurt.
manage with
that would
that.
still hurt. I feel maybe nose. Oh, you hurt my nose. I could still carry the guy.
So, Joe's in control. until Cesaro. Now these spots are funny. Cesaro deadlifts, suplexes him. Then Joe goes back to leg kicks. There's a knee bar by Joe, but Cesaro goes for a sharpshooter, but Joe stops it with jabs. Then Cesaro lifts him onto his shoulders and slams him down. He tries for the Cesaro swing, and Joe punches the knee. Cesaro uses the double foot stomp, goes for the neutralizer, but then Joe back body drops him, and Cesaro lands on his feet. That hurt. And then he leaps off the middle rope for that spinning uppercut, and the knee gives out, and he takes a Uranagi, and Joe gets the victory. The right finish.
Yes, it was. I think what was notable for me was that they gave enough offense to Cesaro here to lead me to believe that the Zayn match definitely won't just be a squash on Sunday. In fact, they'll probably be relied upon to go long.
I think they'll have to. Yes. Mm-hmm. Charlie then comes out and asks how Joe has had so much success in a short time.
Yeah, he beat Cesaro.
Well, here's a diagram, Charlie. Here is how I've done it. Here's my training routine. Here's my diet. Here's my strategy book. Here's my move list. Like, what a stupid question. This is the whole impetus for this interview. How have you been so good? Wait, how do you talk like that? Your talking is so well. Anyway, Joe says he came to hurt people. Cesaro is a freak athlete, but isn't like him. He runs down everyone in the locker room when Sami Zayn's music plays, and he runs from the side, attacking Joe. Playoff when Joe attacked him. They brawl off the stage. They're separated. Then Zayn dove off the stage onto Joe, and they were separated. So I think they'll have a very good match on Sunday.
I do too.
I think they'll have a lot of time.
If they're allowed to, yeah. If they have the time, if they don't just have Joe completely destroy him, which you can argue that they might, but I'd rather see a good match between these two.
You know what my highlight of the entire show was? This really speaks volumes to Monday's Raw. No, not the contract signing. I have been one to really stand up for this anniversary stuff in the WWE.
Yep.
And they just jab me. They jab me in the side and just screw with me all the time. It was a lot to deal with this 30th anniversary of Royal Rumble bullshit.
Yeah.
We're going back. We're reviewing the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, which is not. And then Michael Cole had to promote the WWE Network, which launched in February of 2014. And
wow, that long ago.
He announced, and I want to quote him verbatim because he did not want to say this. It was a struggle. He stuttered his way through it, but he was the bigger man, and he admitted it. He said it's the third anniversary of the WWE Network. And I swear to God, that's exactly how he said it. Stuttering his way through, but he got it right. And Michael Cole was the MVP of Monday's episode of Raw.
Oh, they're just learning how to count.
Amazing how that works. 3 years, third anniversary. Amazing. Mick Foley is in the ring, and he says that the irresistible force will meet the immovable object when Roman Reigns takes on Braun Strowman. Strowman comes out first, and he says that Foley's purpose here is done after bringing out the paper and the table, and he tells him to leave or else. Foley says he may not be the GM for long, but as long as he is, Braun will listen to him. Strowman says he would have respected Foley back when he was competition, but Stephanie's right that he's pathetic and a suburban dad. Which might be the next, maybe that can be Hulk Hogan's next WWE Studios film.
Suburban Dad.
Suburban Dad.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be doing that.
No. He's,
there's already a Suburban Dad video of him out there.
Yes. Foley then turned on the Foley voice, and he started screaming. He's sick of being talked down to. He yells that Braun will respect him as a legend. GMs come and go, but legends live on forever. Braun will learn to respect him or else, as the crowd started chanting for Foley. Yeah. At least they didn't chant for CM Punk. So, a passionate promo here from Foley, and he got the crowd engaged.
Yeah, so, I mean, I that was the show-long theme was to really beat down Foley so he can have this big...
He got his comeuppance against the big monster instead of Stephanie.
But he didn't even get it against Braun Strowman.
Oh, he yelled at him.
He said a couple lines, and then Braun just swatted his mic away and intimidated him.
That's all they can do with Foley. They can't do anything more.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm just saying, like, it was hardly worth, in my opinion. Like, everything he took prior, especially from Stephanie, who got none of the retaliation.
Roman comes out right as Braun is getting in Foley's face, and they fight on the floor. Reigns gets thrown over the steps, like clears them, and then comes back with a Superman punch off the steps, and then Braun catches Roman, runs him into the post and over the barricade. They fight into the crowd until Reigns spears Strowman through the barricade and takes this large security man down as well. This guy just took a tumble. Reigns comes into the ring with Braun down from this spear. The crowd is chanting Roman as he takes the contract and goes to sign it, but then Strowman staggers up and yells if that's all Roman's got. He gets back into the ring and Reigns hits another Superman punch. Strowman then runs Roman into the corner, and the top turnbuckle rope snaps off as Corey Graves says, "I've never seen anything like that," indicating that he did not watch Evolve 74. And he stands tall over Roman. And, I mean, visually, this looked cool.
It looked really cool.
This looked, this thing, like, snapped off. I mean, I would be worried about this thing just ricocheting into my face. But, hey.
It looked great. It was, I guess, a good consolation for the lack of ring breaking last week.
Reigns finally gets the contract after coming back to life from this rope snap. And he signs the contract as Braun smiles and leaves to end the show and the Braun track signing. I didn't mind this last segment.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'm not that all into the match itself. Nonetheless, I'm interested in who wins it. And
I'll say this for Fastlane. I didn't think this show was a great show, but the title match, I think you're really interested because there's consequences of who wins and loses. I think this match with Reigns and Strowman. I mean, Strowman is this undefeated monster, and how you book that match is of interest. And to a lesser degree, there's at least consequences if Charlotte were to lose her match with Bayley. So it's 3 matches where it's more than just a match that's just been your 4-week build-up for a match. There's some consequences to these wins and losses, and that's what has my interest. And Joe and Zayn will probably be a pretty good match.
Yeah, I actually don't really have an issue at all with the way Fastlane looks. I do have an issue with how this edition of Raw built to it, which I feel really was not all that productive. I just felt an overall real lack of creativity and effort put into most of these segments.
The biggest segment was a WrestleMania build with Rollins and Hunter.
Hunter and Seth Rollins, and I thought Hunter had a very good performance. Beyond that, there's really not much I can say. I mean, Joe and Cesaro was fine.
Yeah.
That was it.
Owens felt like an afterthought on this show.
I feel like wasn't last week's Raw? Didn't I like last week's Raw?
Yes.
I feel like I've liked most editions of Raw, even up until this build for Fastlane. But for whatever reason, maybe writers just got too caught up with the Academy Awards. I don't know. But it just seems like very little effort was put into this one.
Yeah, this one felt like, look, I don't disagree with you. This is a show the go-home show you want to have Goldberg on, but they felt like they just had no idea. Yeah. Like, what more do we have to do? Like, there just seemed no thought into anything here. So, anyway, that was Raw. I didn't think overall a great show. And that's that.
That is that.
Wai has to catch a flight to Las Vegas, so he will not be back with me on Wednesday. Instead, I will be joined by the Bray D.
Yeah.
As we will review SmackDown. I also want to chat with him about Riverdale. And and that show,
That's
which
exciting.
you've gotten into a little bit.
No, I'm not. I watched a few episodes. I'm not continuing.
You're done. Okay. Well, that's nice. Well, you stick to your terrace house, and I'll check out Riverdale. Yeah. And I want to make a mention that Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Facebook Live. Go join at facebook.com/live audio wrestling because Jason Agnew and Braden Harrington will be live for a special edition of What's Next on Facebook Live. So you can check that out at 9 Eastern, right after NXT on Wednesday night. Also coming out this week, we've got Review-A-Smackdown on Wednesday and Tuesday afternoon, a new Japanese audio wrestling with new host, Jojo Remy, who will be joined by a guest. He will be on the show as Japanese audio wrestling, the face of Japanese audio wrestling. The face and voice have changed forever.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
So Jojo is the new host.
Jojo is the new host, continuing the Japanese audio wrestling run.
So we thank WH, of course, and we thank Chris Charlton.
Yes. They had a Loser Leaves Town match, and it was a double countout, apparently. That is some of the shows you can look out for. And catch Wai's work. He will be down in Las Vegas with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, which you can follow on Fight Network.
YouTube.com/Fight Network for all that.
Yes, I've seen my schedule. I will be doing a lot of talking about this card.
And I want to thank Sam for producing the show today, flying solo, and all this you see.
You were rolling, right? Perfect. All right. Thank you, as always, to Sam. And check out the unboxing.
The Pro Wrestling Crates unboxing video. We will open this little guy for February.
When's that video coming out? The one that we're too good for?
I think this week.
Okay, this
sometime.
week. All right, this week, sometime. Yeah. So all the regular shows this week, MMA Report, Keep It 2000 comes out Friday. And then Sunday on the Law, we'll have a big review of Fastlane, UFC 209, and whatever other crazy news, chatting a lot about the Hardys.
Nobody's watching it at this
Drew
point.
Galloway.
Nobody's watching it right now anyway. Everybody, as soon as we started plugs, people just clicked onto the next video. So.
Oh, okay. And final thing we should mention, we talked about this on the podcast version, but let's mention on the video version as well.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The live Review-A podcast will be taking place Sunday morning, April the 2nd, WrestleMania Day in Orlando at 11 a.m. And best place to go, we have created an event for the live podcast, and you can go to our Facebook group for all the information.
Live Audio Wrestling Facebook group.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
The event is there Sunday morning, 11 a.m. We'll have you out by 1:30.
Yep, something like that.
Lots of time before WrestleMania is what we're saying.
It's like a whole month away. It's 34 days away. And if you can't be there, we will upload it to this very YouTube channel.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for us, and we'll speak with you next week. Each week, you have a chance to win a t-shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees during Review-A Raw. All you have to do is pay attention for the secret question and then submit your answer at Law Radio on Twitter, and you'll be entered into a draw to win your t-shirt, including our own brand of shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com/law.